happening right now, more or less. Spring 2025. Big company, Fortune 500. Name you definitely know. And they announced this major promotion. But the new exec, not your typical ladder climber.
Right. It's an AI. They've actually named her Athena.
Athena. And she's running their supply chain division, a multi-billion-dollar operation.
2 billion, yeah. And look, based on the material we dug into, this isn't just, some future prediction. The sources actually include an interview with the person who had that exact job before Athena took over.
Wow. Okay. And the impact, what do the sources say happened right away?
Well, the numbers are pretty stark. They're quoted directly. Efficiency uplift, 34%.
34%.
And the other part, redundant human roles eliminated.
Oof. Okay, that definitely gets your attention, doesn't it? An AI exec, immediate results like that. It makes you wonder, should your boss be worried? Or maybe you should be.
Exactly. That's the core tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
AI moving beyond just, automating simple stuff. Now it's impacting roles we thought were safe. Management, even the C-suite. And that's what we're really digging into in this deep dive. We've got this stack of sources trying to get past the hype.
Yeah, understand what's really happening. Because it's complex, right? Not just jobs vanishing, but also new ones appearing. So our mission here, unpack what the sources are telling us about this whole shift. Let's jump in.
Okay. So the first big theme that emerges is this idea of AI automating higher-level tasks, things managers, even executives used to do.
It's not just about the factory floor anymore.
Not at all. And there's a specific story in the material. Sarah Kintu, former VP of Strategy at NexGen Logistics. Her experience is, it's kind of wild and really telling.
Okay, tell us about Sarah. What happened?
The sources say she spent 2 years basically working with Athena, mentoring it almost.
Mentoring an AI, what does that even look like for a VP of Strategy?
Well, think about it. She wasn't just feeding it numbers. It was high-level stuff. Market trend analyses, detailed risk models.
Negotiation tactics, competitive intel.
Exactly. All the complex inputs that went into her strategic thinking. She was, effectively, teaching the AI her job at that strategic level.
And the result, I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's pretty blunt in the source material. In her last quarter in that role, Athena just performed better. The AI she trained, using her own expertise, got more efficient, more effective at the core job functions.
So it essentially optimized her right out of her own job.
That's the gist of it. But here's the really fascinating part from the interview with Sarah herself. Her reaction.
Right, you'd expect anger, maybe feeling betrayed.
But she actually described it as relief. Said she felt like she was drowning in spreadsheets, just buried in data. The sources point out Athena could do complex forecasting in minutes, stuff that took Sarah weeks.
Okay, that puts a different spin on it. Relief. It humanizes it, I guess. Suggests maybe some of the tasks AI takes over are the ones humans don't really enjoy anyway. The grunt work, even at a high level.
It seems like it, yeah. And the sources say Sarah's now focusing on something she calls human strategy.
Human strategy. What does that mean, according to the material?
It was the stuff she felt the AI couldn't replicate. Complex client relationships, tricky ethical decisions, needing real judgment, empathy.
Building trust, creative solutions beyond just patterns.
Exactly. The high-touch, uniquely human aspects. Her new role is apparently centered entirely on that, stuff an algorithm struggles with.
And her story isn't just a one-off, is it? How does this connect to broader trends?
Well, the material cites a 2025 Gartner study. It estimates that something like 40% of typical managerial tasks are now AI automated.
40%. Wow, that's a significant chunk of what managers do.
It is. It really forces you to rethink what managing or leading even means if the data analysis, the reporting, task allocation, if a lot of that is automated.
So is it just about eliminating jobs higher up? Or is it more like reshaping the job itself, pushing people towards different kinds of work?
I think that's the key question the sources raise. And it leads to the other side of this, the new jobs AI is creating.
Right, the flip side. Because it's not all doom and gloom, apparently.
No, it gets more nuanced here, more hopeful, maybe. There's an example, Diego Martinez. Just a couple of years ago, say 2023, he was a warehouse supervisor, doing inventory checks, shift schedules, layout optimization.
The kind of process-heavy stuff that seems ripe for automation.
Exactly. And the sources say, yes, those specific tasks are now largely automated where he works.
Okay, so what happened to Diego? Did he become one of those redundant roles?
Surprisingly, no. He transitioned into a completely new role, Human AI Integration Specialist.
Human AI Integration Specialist? Sounds like science fiction, but it's a real job.
Irony so. a job that basically didn't exist a few years ago, created because of the AI deployment.
So what does someone in that role actually do? What's his day like?
The source describes him as the bridge. He works directly with the AI systems, troubleshooting the cobots, the collaborative robots on the floor.
So not just watching them, but interacting, fixing problems.
Right. And crucially, he gathers feedback from the human workers. Their frustrations, their ideas, what feels clunky about the tech, and he translates that real-world human experience into feedback for the AI's programming, helping refine it.
The bridge. That's a great description, acting as the interface between the human workforce and the AI.
And it's not just Diego. The sources cite a LinkedIn report showing a huge spike, 300% in jobs, with titles like AI Human Mediator just in the past year.
300%. Okay, that's not a niche thing. That's real growth.
Significant growth, yeah.
Yeah.
In roles designed specifically for that human-AI interaction.
Now, I can hear some listeners thinking, okay, is this just the positive spin, a bit of corporate PR? Are these just a few lucky examples while most people get left behind?
That's a fair question, a critical one, actually. And the sources, they don't completely dismiss that concern. They mention the brutal truth that, yes, if companies only use AI to cut costs, widespread job losses are a real risk.
There's a but here.
But they also point to companies they call pioneers, like Siemens. The material suggests they're taking a different path. Siemens is reportedly reinvesting a chunk of the savings from AI automation back into their workforce.
Reinvesting how?
Specifically into upskilling. The source mentions them spending 20% of AI savings on training programs for their employees.
20% just on upskilling. That's a serious commitment. What's the philosophy behind that?
Their mantra, according to the sources, is automate tasks, elevate people.
Elevate people. Okay, that's a different perspective. Not replace, but elevate.
Exactly. It suggests a strategy where AI handles the routine stuff, freeing up humans for maybe more complex or different types of work. The sources describe these programs teaching people not just tech skills, but how to work with AI, how to interpret its output, monitor it, provide that feedback loop, like Diego does.
So it's about collaboration, not just replacement. Learning to leverage the tools.
That seems to be the idea. Expertise becomes less about doing the task yourself and more about effectively using the AI to get things done.
Okay, so we've seen AI impacting strategy VPs, automating warehouse tasks, but creating new bridge roles, and companies investing in upskilling. It all kind of leads to this bigger, maybe more philosophical question that the sources wrestle with. Can an algorithm actually lead humans?
Yeah, this is where it gets really deep, moving into ethics.
Yeah.
And the sources present quite conflicting views.
Okay, like what?
Well, on one side, you've got Dr. Lena Petrova, an AI ethicist from MIT. Her stance is pretty clear. Ethically, AI cannot lead humans.
Why not? What's her reason?
She talks about moral courage. Real leadership involves tough calls, taking responsibility, especially for negative outcomes like layoffs. It requires empathy, maybe even guilt, things in an algorithm, which just follows data and objectives, can't experience. It can't feel responsibility.
Makes sense. An algorithm doesn't have a conscience.
Right. But then the sources bring in a counter-argument from someone actually using AI leaders. Mark Vance, CEO of Tectonic, he argues that AI execs like their Athena can actually be more fair than human leaders.
More fair? How does he figure that? That's a bold claim.
His argument is all about objectivity. He says Athena makes decisions based purely on data, without human flaws, no bias, no ego, no burnout, no favoritism.
Okay.
And he makes a specific claim, noted in the material, that Athena promoted more women and minorities last year than any human exec had previously managed at his company.
Wow. He attributes that directly to the AI being unbiased, just looking at performance data.
That's his claim, yeah, free from unconscious human bias.
But wait, what about AI bias? We know AI learns from historical data. If that data has biases built in, like, I don't know, favoring people from certain schools or backgrounds?
Absolutely. That's the huge caveat, isn't it? The AI could just replicate or even amplify past biases.
So how does Vance address that, do the sources say?
They do. He acknowledges the risk. His company's approach, according to the material, is human oversight. They have human ethics boards that audit Athena's decisions weekly, specifically checking for bias.
Ah. So they need humans to check the AI's ethics.
Exactly, and that brings us right back to Dr. Petrova's argument. Her point, reflected in the sources, is that the need for that human ethics board proves her case. It shows humans are still essential in the loop, precisely because they have the moral judgment the AI lacks. The AI provides the data-driven suggestion, maybe, but humans ensure it's ethical.
So it boils down to this tension. Pure data-driven efficiency versus human judgment, responsibility, empathy. Can one replace the other in leadership?
That's the core debate. And it's not theoretical. Companies are actively figuring this out right now. It's reshaping what we even mean by leader.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered a lot of ground. AI in the C-suite, displacing leaders, but maybe boosting efficiency, maybe fairness.
We've seen automation hitting routine tasks, but also sparking these entirely new human-AI bridge jobs.
And explored that fundamental debate about whether an algorithm can truly lead, pitting data against ethics, essentially.
Wow.
So we started with that question. Will AI fire your boss, or are you next? And the answer from these sources seems to be, well, it's complicated.
It's not a simple yes or no. AI can automate tasks at any level. That
Yeah.
seems clear. From the executive suite right down to the warehouse floor.
But it doesn't automatically mean human leadership is over or all human jobs disappear. It seems more like a redefinition is happening.
Exactly. Human leadership might become more focused on providing the things AI can't. The ethical oversight, the empathy, the context that human strategy Sarah Kintu talked about.
And human roles evolve towards interacting with AI, leveraging these tools being that crucial bridge.
Right, it's a shift in focus.
Which kind of leaves you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on based on all this material. If AI takes over more data crunching, more optimization, more routine decisions,